Hey everyone. So, Taylor and I were sitting in the car on our way to Montreal, Canada. We were going to be celebrating New Year's with friends. It was going to be awesome. And a little rear view mirror look into our relationship. We dated for like 9 months, and I met her at a time when I was like really wanted to be independent and like start like building my confidence and do all these things, and I decided the way I was going to do that is become this like lone ranger where I like did things on my own and like didn't care about anyone. And then I met this girl, Taylor, and she was awesome. And she was pretty, that's great, but like she was awesome, and I thought it was awesome because like she didn't shave her armpits or her legs because she didn't care. She didn't care what other people thought, and she didn't want to do it. And she was awesome because like when she was by herself, she would think of jokes and laugh out loud. And that was awesome. To me, that was great. And she was awesome because she was confrontational, and she spoke her mind, and she said something when she didn't think things were right. And I love that. So we started dating, and I, Lone Ranger in me, I was like, what are we doing? But she was awesome, so that's cool. And we started dating, and we shared a lot of interests, a lot of like shared passions, and we learned from each other. And all the time, I was seeing like all these qualities in her that I really admired. And as we dated more and more, she kind of grew closer to me and more comfortable. And as we dated, I felt these kind of like shifts of resentment and frustration. And I realized the person I was looking at was the person, or had the qualities that I wanted to develop. And I started to get frustrated. And so the Lone Ranger in me decided, this is it, I can't do this. I'm not gonna hang out with someone that I want to be. And so I cut it, and I ended it. And then we, fast forward, we ended the relationship, and a few months later, we're now sitting in this car on the way to Montreal to celebrate New Year's. And we're now in this space where, I know, maybe I'm the only person that's experienced this, but like, you date someone, then you break up, and then you're still hanging out for like a month later. Yeah. So that was happening, and that was okay. So we were in the car, and we were switching off roles, pilot, co-pilot, and she had just taken over as pilot. And I was sitting in the car, and I started to smell something funky. And it was car funky, not people funky. So I said something to her, and I was like, hey, like, do you smell that? And she's like, yeah. And she was like, the car is kind of acting a little bit funky. And eventually she realized what the issue was. There was a bright light on the dash saying, brake. And that meant the emergency brake was on, and we were driving. And she didn't put the emergency brake on, so I was guilty. And what I did was, when I parked the car, I put the emergency brake up. That's how I do it, and that's not how she does it. So she didn't know I did that. And so now she was confronting me, and in that way that I admired and resented at that point. But I had to relent to the fact that it was her car, and when we're in her car, we don't put the emergency brake up. So that's a note. So the rest of the trip, the rest of the drive goes pretty well, get our passports stamped, we're in Canada, and I'm the one that gets to deliver us to Montreal, Canada. I park in this little alleyway, and we leave the car there for a few days, and we celebrate. It's a lot of fun, we have friends, good food, and at some point a snowstorm blows through Montreal, a bunch of snow lays down, but it doesn't spoil our fun until the morning we have to leave, or the morning we want to leave. We hop in the car, Taylor's the first pilot, and so she steps on the gas, and the wheels spin, but the car doesn't move, because we're stuck in the snow. And so we have to go back to our gracious hosts that had, housed us for the past 4 days that we had just met. They're really nice people. And we had to say, we're not out of your hair yet, please help us dig our car out of the snow. And so they helped out, 5 people, 20 minutes later, this car is still in the snow, we got a snow dungeon. And luckily, there were some neighbors that were coming by, and this, totally by chance, neighbors had an SUV and chains, and they were willing to help out. So we chain the car up. It's this tiny little Mazda versus a big SUV, so like, this is good. And the SUV starts driving and pulling, and we're like trying to back the car up, and the wheels are spinning, and nothing's moving. And so at this point, it's like all like hope is lost. And it's like, I'm sitting here outside the car, and I'm like, so it's Montreal, Canada. How long does it take for snow to melt in Montreal, Canada at the start of January? And then Taylor notices the problem. She saw a bright sign on the dash that said brake. And so she walked over to me and she mentioned, like, hey, there's a brake sign on. And so I slyly kind of moved into the driver's seat of the car. I put the brake down, gave a thumbs up to our neighbors, and they pulled us out of the car, or the snow miraculously. I didn't have the heart to tell the neighbors what the real issue was. Taylor didn't have the heart to say it either. I want to say that no one was really hurt in that situation from them not knowing. So we didn't tell them. What did end up happening was Taylor called it quits in the relationship a few months later. And what I realized is that very similar to this car ride we were on, the relationship had started off with a brake light on, and it was only a matter of time. You know, we moved around together for a little bit, but eventually that brake light stopped us from moving, and it was only time until both of us saw that that light was on, and one of us did something about it.